sins wurden by Sheni. We had all hoped that we wouldn't be sitting here tonight, that over the course of the past year, Mashiach would have come and this Tisha B'Av will be different. But we weren't Zoche. And we still need to cry tonight. The tikkun, or the crying many years ago in the Midbar, when the Meraglim came back and were boche bechia shel chinam, has still not been corrected, and the Rebbeinu Shalom gave us a bechia ledoros, or as the other Medrash calls it, the bechia shel mamish, that somehow will eventually rectify the damage caused by that bechia shel chinam. What's the difference between bechia shel chinam and bechia shel mamish? Since that is the avoda for tonight specifically, boko sifke balayl, to cry. And if you can't cry, to at least try to imagine that you're crying. To sit as if you're crying. To feel terrible that you can't cry. And for those who are fortunate enough to be able to cry, to shed a few tears tonight. So what kind of crying are we supposed to cry? What is the difference between the bechia shel chinam and the bechia shel mamish? Last week's Sedra, the Torah tells us what motivated them to cry that night. They said, "B'sinas Hashem osanu hotzianu miMitzrayim, loseis osanu biyadu emori lahashmideinu." They cried because they thought the Rebbeinu Shalom had taken them out of Egypt because he hates them. And his agenda was to give them over into the hands of the 7 nations to decimate them. For some reason, the Rebbeinu Shalom hates Klal Yisrael and wants to have them destroyed. And they cried because they felt totally abandoned and lost, totally unable to do anything about their situation. And that's not true. The Rebbeinu Shalom doesn't hate Klal Yisrael, just the opposite, he loves us. He chose us from all the other nations in the schus of our avos. And the Rebbeinu Shalom promised never to abandon us. And even when things are terrible, the Afgam Zos biyosam be'eretz oiveim, even when we're in Golis, and they're terrible tzaras, lo ma'astim v'lo ga'altim l'chalosam l'hofer brisi itam. And I think what it means is the following: lo ma'astim, the Rebbeinu Shalom does not consider us abominable, an abomination that has to be destroyed. You destroy something abominable. So lo ma'astim l'kalosam, chas v'sholom, the Rebbeinu Shalom is not abominated by us, that he wants to chas v'sholom destroy it. The lo ga'altim, and he also doesn't want to throw us out. He doesn't want to distance himself from us, even if we're not abominable. But it's not that he doesn't want to have a relationship with us. Lo ga'altim l'hofer brisi itam. I don't want to throw them out and destroy my covenant with them, my kesher with them. Ki ani Hashem Elokeim. I am Hashem. I'm the one who constantly gives them kiyum, constantly gives them existence. I never want to destroy them. And I'm Eloheim. I have a tremendous relationship. So the Rebbeinu Shalom doesn't want us intrinsically destroyed, and he doesn't want to break his relationship with us. All of the tzaras, and all of the things that threaten us and scare us are not chas v'shalom b'sinas Hashem osam, but they're all a function of avas Hashem, to see to it that will continue to exist, to see to it that that relationship with the Rebbeinu Shalom will continue to be. And if we talk our distance from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's not because he hates us, and not because he distanced himself from us, but just the opposite. The Sforno said that in Golas, Klal Yisrael will come to a recognition, seemingly a positive one, but we'll see the Sforno says not positive at all. Golas will come to a recognition. The Omru Al Kiein Elohai B'Kirbi Mitzauni Haros Ha'elu will come to a recognition that all the tzaras of Golas came upon us because the Rebbeinu Shalom is no longer with us. So you would think that if they recognize that the tzaras came because the Rebbeinu Shalom is no longer with them, and they admit that they did things wrong, that the Rebbeinu Shalom then will have Rachmanislah. The pasuk, next pasuk says, "V'anochi haster astir panai mehem." I'll make a bigger hester upon them. Sforno explains why. What was so terrible? Klal Yisrael assumed that the reason that they have all these tzaras is because the Rebbeinu Shalom abandoned them. When the truth is that that's not the case at all. The Rebbeinu Shalom never abandons us. And he never leaves us. The Rebbeinu Shalom is shochein itam b'soch tumasam. In the midst of all the averas, the Rebbeinu Shalom is still there. So what happens? We distance ourselves from the Rebbeinu Shalom. We're the ones who pulled away, not God. We create mechitzas between ourselves and the Rebbeinu Shalom. But it's not because the Rebbeinu Shalom isn't there, because we're not there. Because we have turned our back on him. We've created separation between him and us. And the Sforno says, what's the difference? Bottom line, there's a separation. The difference is in whose court is the ball. If we think that the Rebbeinu Shalom left us, then he has to come back. He has to be the one. There's nothing we can do. But if we understand that we turned our back on him, we erected mechitzas between us and him, then the ball is in our court. We have to return. We have to break down those mechitzas. There's something that can be done. Not just to throw up our hands in desperation and say, well, God's not here, and what can we do about it? The Rebbeinu Shalom never hates us. Hatred is a pirut. Just like Ava is a chibur. Ava is where you're connected. Hatred is where you're disconnected. The Rebbeinu Shalom never disconnects himself from us. In the worst tzaras, in the worst times, in the worst choshech, he's always there. But we fail to see him. We turn our back on him. We build mechitzas between ourselves and him. And therefore there's hope. Because we can break down the mechitzas that we built. We can turn around and see him again. We can recognize him again. We can come out of the darkness. And therefore, the crying long ago was a crying of Yush. They cried because they felt hopeless. Because they felt the Rebbeinu Shalom abandoned. And the crying that we do to correct that is a crying of hope. That there is hope. If we cry, we recognize what we're missing. We recognize how much we want it back. And we cry out to the Rebbeinu Shalom that we want to return and we want to turn around and we want to break down those mechitzas. And that crying, those kinos, will be like a baby, a tinok, same osios as kinos. A baby cries not because it gives up hope and it's desperate,